Ice Hearts, Points to Default, Part 2. At least the kitchen, Ditchy thought, was refreshingly free of creepy architecture. The walls and floor were white tile, interspersed with gleaming silver racks of dishes and cooking equipment. Tall lights blazed at regular intervals around the room and chased away the lingering shadows, what seemed to have been taken over by the rest of the hotel. More fires burned in each of the 3 massive ovens, and Dizzy could see a wide array of pans, trays, and tins baking at various positions within them. If Ice Heart and his friends ate before us, and we just ate with poussins, who's this for? Wondered Cheerily.
The servants?
Ventured Raindrops. A door in the back of the room opened, and a brown-coated Pegasus flew out. Even without glancing towards the elements, he slipped down one of the counters and set the large bag of flour he was holding. He picked up a lump of dough with his forehose and began to knead it with strong, steady motions. Meanwhile, with his left wing, he carefully poured flour into yet another pan, whisking and sugar and salt with his second left wing. Second left wing! Ditsy gawked as the pony extended his 2 right wings, grabbed more containers, smoothly passing them to the left side of his body as his host kept kneading. His left wings continued to mix flour with the other basic ingredients. It was such a strange image he didn't know how to react. He just watched as he worked with almost an ethereal grace, his 4 wings in constant motion as he manipulated ingredients and passed items from side to side. At any given time, he was doing 4 or 5 different things. Kneading, scraping the zest from a lemon, measuring out a teaspoon of vanilla, reaching out for a fruit mixer. But his motions were so grateful, and the troll day seemed almost to be standing still. Ditsy thought she was a decent baker, good enough to at least keep her little muffin happy. But she knew her talents were nothing compared to this, especially when he had 2 extra limbs to work with. Trixie looked at the others. "Alright," she murmured. "I'm going to say hi. This time, let's..." "Is that a crooked bush?" The elements turned to Lyra, who was extending a hoof towards what looked like a cone made of little pastry balls into one of the ovens. The Pegasus looked up too.
"I'm sorry,"
he asked. "Interesting enough, I watched Crunching Kitchen and now I know what a crooked bush is." "That's a croquembouche," said Lyra, hopping up and down. "Oh, I love croquembouche, but they're so hard to make. Bonbon's only done it once, during Heartswarming last year, and it took her hours and hours to do it. She crossed the ovens in moments and peered inside, but it was so good." A big grin seemed to fill out her entire face. "Is that real Demerara sugar?"
"Yes," said the Pegasus slowly. "However, while I appreciate your interest, I cannot interrupt my baking."
Right, of course, just one more question. Lyra put her foreheads together in a pleading gesture. "Can I have just a little bite?"
"All of the vice-doing servants are welcome to anything I bake, unless I designate it for myself, my friends, or the vice-doing," the Pegasus voice trailed off. "And all of her servants authorized to be here would know that. You don't work for the vice-doing."
He froze for a moment before slamming his wings against his side, tugging his 2 wings over his upper 2.
"Who are you?"
he demanded at Lyra.
"What do you want?"
Trixie hurried forward and held up a hoof, moving between Lyra and the baker. "You don't need to be afraid of us," she said. "We're the Elements of Harmony. We're here to protect every pony from the Wendigo in case anything happens. Princess Luna herself requested us." The Pegasus did not seem mollified.
"Those vice-doing poussins knew you're here."
The elements exchanged looks before Ditsy said, "Yes, he doesn't dare return that." She thought she might not believe that they really meant the vice-doing. He looked very nervous, so recalling she said never to wear the same outfit twice, she said, "At dinner, the vice-doing was wearing an emerald-studded dress and a silver necklace with a red ruby at the base. The ruby was cut in a pattern commonly found in Calabrian gemstones," added Cheerily. At that, the Pegasus did relax slightly.
"Then you did meet her today. Well, if the fault is for you, I have no objections. You can stay."
He lowered his head back to his work, so his wings already beginning to move between the bowls in front of him.
"If you would like something to eat, that table there has my finished goods."
He pointed at a long set under a warming rack.
Let's don't touch anything in the black and red patter. Those are for Tim, and he hates when others eat his sweets.
He almost approached the table. Even though he had just eaten and wasn't quite fat stuff, Dizzy's mouth began to water at the sense of the baked goods wafted towards her muzzle. "They smell delicious," she said, picking up a banana muffin. It was so light and fluffy that its crumbs seemed to hang in the air as they fell. "Thank you." "So," said Trixie, "who are you?"
My name is Bertie Bruce Baker.
"And who is Tim?" asked Shirley.
Tim is...
Bounty glanced to one side on the side.
You'll see in a moment. Like I said, he doesn't like it when ponies eat his sweets.
Confused, Disney turned back to look at Trixie. Only to see her friend munching on one of the slices of cake on a platter that was glazed with black and red stripes. Ulysses blushed. "Okay, in fairness to me, this one had bourbon in it. How could I resist?" The elements laughed. Before Dizzy could say anything, a flash of darkness crossed the corner of her eye as he turned and gasped. "Girls, look into that door!" A mixture of what looked like smoke and shadow was pouring into the room, spreading out under the crack in the door and moving through the keyhole as well. Part of the shadow formed with a hot hand and was turned the knob and opened the door, releasing a huge mass of black substance in the room. It paused for a moment and then charged directly at Trixie.
Said Raindrops. What's going on?
What's going on, you ask?
Boomed the smoke. A head formed in it, looking like a black-coated stallion with red highlights made and very sharp teeth.
You have devoured Sukkah sentence that is not yours!
A thundering boom echoed from his body.
Now you must face the wrath of Titan, Invisimus, a monarch!
Another Titan? Oh, come on, we can't even deal with the other immortal Titan. Dizzy froze. Tearly and Raindrops already run to her on either side, and the latter put out a hoof to steady her.
Don't worry, growled Raindrops. Where this is, we got this.
Girls, said Trixie as Mara continued to approach. Get ready to fight!
Fight! You won't have a chance. First, you'll suffer my wrath. You'll fall before my power. You'll fall. You.
Then the smoke coalesced in the form of a solid black stallion, who immediately fell over laughing.
You really should look on the funny looks on the faces.
He was guffawing so hard, tears were coming from his eyes.
You'll so see yourselves. You're so dense you'll look like you're going to explode.
He waved a hoof weakly in the air.
Name's Titan Invisimus Monarch, but you just called me Tim? Nice to meet ya.
He let out a few more giggles before relaxing on the ground.
Hey, Balti, are these the new recruits Pusar's found for us? No, they're here to cut us from the Wendigo, said Balti.
What, even the grey one with the pretty eyes?
Titsy blinked. Hang on, said Raindrops. That whole smoke and thunder thing was a joke?
You got it.
Raindrops growled.
It wasn't very funny.
Tim looked at her for a moment before rolling back to his host and prostrating himself in a bow.
All right, I'm sorry. I was merely trying to add a touch of excitement to an otherwise dull evening. But if I have offended, I humbly beg your pardon.
He winked recklessly at Raindrops. Will you ever forgive me?
It's not personal, Bounty chimed in. He does that to everyone when he first meets them. Well, that's so lie.
Just try to frighten up the place, Triple B.
If you want it better, maybe you should ask for those permanent rain clouds to be moved away from your house, said Bounty.
Oh, but my muse, she has but to take her face. She won't come out unless the gloom is so thick you can practically taste it. Trixie held up a hoof. Wait. Titan Invisimus Monarch. Tim, right?
At your service, milady, said Tim. Prankster, jokester, a case of a novelist. Want an autograph?
No. Trixie looked at the others, then said, Your magic. I can see it with a spell. It only matches one other type of magic I've ever known. In the castle, Princess Luna has a few artifacts enchanted by Sombra. They take a spot in the Crystal Kingdom. And the magic on those artifacts looks just like the spell you use. She took a breath. You use forbidden magic, didn't you? Dizzy and the other elements moved closer.
Tim shrugged eagerly. I guess you called me. I knew I shouldn't have sacrificed the groves of carrots to T-Reg in exchange for...
His muzzle twitched, then burst out again. Nah, it's nothing like that. I've always been able to go a little smoky, ever since I was a little foal. I was right handful to my parents, let me tell you, always turning into mist and drifting out the windows. Dizzy tilted her head, not knowing what to say. She did assert that Carrot looked rather put out, probably thanks to that bit about sacrificing a gross of carrots.
Tim is a descendant of King Sambla,
said Bounty in a reserved tone of one who knew his kitchen would be filled with chatter for several more minutes,
and inherited his powers returning to smoke and shadow. Hi, at least I've called on one of my good powers. All my cousin Dottie can do is make stairways 4 times as long. He paused. You don't want to know what that stands for.
Trixie opened her mouth to say something, but Shirley hurried forwards. Tim, she said, it's very nice of you to introduce yourself. But I have a question for Mr. Baker. Her tone was pleasant, but Ditsy knew full well enough to know that Shirley had an ulterior purpose in mind. Bounty, you said this food was five-sided servants?
Yes.
Bounty moved back towards the oven, and using 2 hooves and all 4 wings to shuffle the pans, pushing some closer towards the fire, pulling others back.
Why?
Well, I noticed there was an awful lot of it, said Shirley. And when we really began to examine it, Mr. Tim showed up, and we learned his delightful story. So interesting, I almost forgot that you cooked 4 or 5 times as much food as you would need for the staff here.
Her voice grew super sweet.
Is there somebody else here with us, Mr. Baker? Somebody perhaps expected?
No, said Bounty, not at all.
Then why all the extra food?
Practice.
Shirley paused. Practice?
Yes.
Bounty looked up and saw Ditsy frown, creasing his features.
I am an artiste, he said. I create food, just as others create with paint or marble or text on a page. To reach the epitome of my craft, I must continuously train myself. I endeavor to bake for at least 3 hours a day. What does it matter if no pony can eat it? I practice, I taste, and I improve.
You must be rich, said Carrot Top, to be able to bake so many goods no pony can eat. I mean, I've done some cooking, but I've never trained like that.
The Vaseline pays for everything, said Bounty, just like she pays for all of Tim's writing equipment.
Tim nodded.
Well, I'm not scaring pennies. I'm a novelist. Got my 15th book coming out this year. You're all fans of the Love and Magic in Philadelphia series, right?
You write those? Gasped Raindrops. She blushed red. When she next spoke, she sounded almost reverent.
Those are my favorite romance!
Her gaze suddenly darted back to her friends, several of whom were smiling.
I mean, I'm familiar with them.
Oh, no need to be shy. Every pony loves Philadelphia, said Tim. My best-selling book series. We should talk about it later. He winked again. Hey, Walter knows Sweetie Pie chooses to kill Beyond Nightmare in the next book. I might be able to wrestle up an advanced reader copy for our fun. Believe Raindrops, murmured Carrot Top, and Disney turned to see that Raindrops' face was shining like a heartwarming eve come early. Remember to believe. Shirley glanced at Trixie before turning back to the baker and novelist. Fishing Poussons provides you with everything you need. That's generous.
That was how she persuaded me to move to the vault, said Bounty. The promise of the opportunity to pursue my craft at a level I could never reach outside.
The vault? Asked Ditsy. She didn't think Stream Dream or Bones mentioned any vault. The Poussons certainly hadn't.
Okay, look, guys, I want to remind you right now, I am a fan of Follow Equestria, so the idea of a vault is kind of nerve-wracking right about now. It's sort of an...
Bounty hesitated and glanced at Tim before continuing.
This colony, and the Vice has collected about 150 of us ponies and provides us with all we need in order to excel in our endeavors. For me, she ensures I have access to the finest ingredients equipment to be found on the continent.
He gestured at the distance, a proud smile on his face.
Before I met her, I had to make do with whatever I could afford. Of course, ground flour from cheap wheat,
Whatever fruit happened to be ripe at the moment. A few spices if I was lucky, and the traveling merchant got to my village before selling her entire inventory en route. Now, he said wistfully, if I desired a pulp of a cactus from Tipra, or rare sugar produced by a particular family-owned bakery in Vedrick, I only need to ask, and then in a day or two it arrives at my doorstep. There's no comparison. Odd, said Tim. She got to be amazed. A Publicis, the very best typewriters. Perfect setup. He grinned. You know, before I moved to the vault, I spent my time on the business end of things. Had to do publicity, contracts, go to literary convention. Then a paparazzi caught me going all Saturday, and suddenly every pony was panicking about me being somber reincarnated. Couldn't get too many panels after that, but now that Poussant handles all the publicity and business stuff, my only job is to write. Another 3 novels a year, and let me tell you, this is a life.
I agree.
Patty chuckled. My special talent is baking. That's what I want to do with my life. That's what makes me happy. But if I was spending hours and hours a day on other tasks, things I didn't care about, but I had to do anyways to keep my bakery open. Advertising, cleaning, running the counter, going to court. When someone starts selling my recipes, and each chore was another minute, or hour or day of my life wasted. He shook his head. I would never be able to do what I love and thus bake out there. Now I can get my 12 hours a day in, and still have the few hours left to plan for the next. I think Poussant is truly the most generous person I could ask for.
Yeah, she sounds generous.
Ditsy, who was beginning to feel slightly creeped out, said, It sounds like you're very lucky. Yeah, agreed Tim. Trust me, sometimes I don't know how I looked into this.
Luck has nothing to do with it, said Bounty. The Vice saw our talent and potential. She thought that we would never be able to be our best as support. That was why she offered to help us. But it was us who had the potential at the beginning. It got a bit ditzy. She's always looking for more talented individuals. You might want to speak with her later.
We'll consider it, said Trixie before Ditsy could respond. However, right now we're trying to find Ice Heart. We already saw Sardine and Bones in the pool. Do you know where anybody else is?
The two looked at each other. Have you tried the Grand Ballroom? Tim asked. I think Silver was working on the next project there.
Oh, we'll go there next, said Trixie. Thanks.
The elements left the room. Ditsy had to force herself not to run.